We have a saying in naval aviation: there are no new mishaps, there are just new people doing the same old mishaps. But naval aviation safety does not buy that notion and operates under the premise that if you're aware of what the old mishaps are, then you won't repeat them. So much of what you'll see in this episode is from the Naval Safety Center's archives, footage that has never been widely distributed publicly. And as I did in the Cold Cats and Ramp Strikes episode, I'll provide a narrative of what it is you're seeing. I presented the Cold Cats and Ramp Strikes episode by various categories: launches, landings, barricades, ramp strikes, etc. This episode is presented more or less chronologically. So here we go. This is an F-3H Demon Cold Cat shot. Ejection seat technology did not allow pilots to punch out while on the flight deck, so this pilot had to ride the airplane over the bow. Here's an F-4D Skyray that damages its left main mount on touchdown and then comes around and takes the Barricade without incident. The C-1 with a single engine off of Cat 3, airplane yaws. Pilot cannot keep the airplane flying and they wind up hitting the water. Everybody aboard this mishap lived. There's another C-1 lined up way left, winds up catching the wire, but the airplane goes over the port side of the carrier. There's another C-1 coming aboard. Pilot pulls nose up at the last second and has an in-flight engagement, winds up luckily trapping. There's another C-1 at night, winds up sailing over the wires and crashing over the port side. This mishap caused naval aviation leadership to change the regulations, and CODs were no longer allowed to fly at night. You can see the crew throwing their flashlights over the side to hopefully mark where the airplane is in the water. Next, we have a C-1 doing a deck run off the bow. In rough seas, a wave comes up and just swallows the airplane, and those on Vulture's row fear the worst. But the airplane winds up being able to fly away miraculously. This is testament to the radial engines that the C-1 had. A jet engine would have flamed out. This is an F-8 that lands hard, has a fire on the right main mount. The pilot winds up ejecting off the angle. As a side note, the ejection seat company, Martin Baker, used this footage for an ad campaign. Here's a home movie shot through the starboard hawse pipe of the carrier that captures an A-7 off of Cat 1 doing a clearing turn and departing into the water. This F-4 spits its bridle, which causes the shuttle to shatter at the end of the stroke, and it fods both of the motors. You can see the crew ejects and the pilot does not get a full shoot. F-4 with a hard landing winds up breaking the starboard wing. This was aboard the USS Midway. This A-6 bombardier navigator had an uncommanded partial ejection in flight, and the pilot brought him aboard with him hanging halfway out of the airplane. But fortunately, he wound up surviving. Prowler Cold Cat shot off of Cat 3, initiate ejection right off the angle. The sequence is like a Roman candle. 2 back seats, right front seat, and then the pilot barely makes it out as a result. But you get 4 good shoots. Another Prowler, same situation off Cat 3. They wind up ejecting a second later. This time you only get 3 shoots before the plane hits the water. The pilot did not make it out. Here you see the flashing F, which means the deck is foul. There is an S-3 still in the landing area, and this Prowler should have been waved off by now. And so by the time he does see the S-3, it's too late, and the results are catastrophic. A lot of fault lies with those who are on the LSO platform and everybody up in the tower, Air Boss, Mini Boss, and the observers. This kind of mishap should never happen if people are paying attention. Here's the F-14 that lands, and the arresting wire breaks. They don't have enough speed to bolter, so they wind up punching out successfully off the angle. Two good shoots, both guys land off the port side. This is a Hornet on a night where the deck is moving, so the LSOs are using MOVLAS, which is the manual lens, because when the deck is moving too much, the automatic lens cannot keep up with the motion of the carrier. In this case, the LSO wound up flying him into the ramp. This F-18 Barricade, the pilot is single engine because his left engine fought during the cat shot with a cat track seal that was left on the flight deck inadvertently. LSO, using the manual lens again, did a nice job of landing him early and allowing him to roll into the Barricade. And here's the same approach from a different angle. Here's a Hornet that lands hard, breaks the left main mount, and FODs the left engine. Tomcat touch and go. The hook is not down. Pilot has developed left to right drift, and on the bolter he winds up hitting an A7 parked on Cat 2. Flight deck personnel are signaling the pilot to shut his engine down as if he wasn't going to do that anyway. As a side note, the Tomcat pilot went on to be a NASA astronaut. So at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see some stuff fly up. That's the leading edge of the starboard wing of an F-14 that just got taxied by the flight director into a Hawkeye's propeller. You can see the resulting damage here. Taxiing around the flight deck at night is a nerve-wracking experience at times, especially when you're close to the airplane next to you. There's a C2 on a pitching deck day, working hard, and off the bolter makes a pretty dramatic move. Lucky he didn't scrape his left wing. You can see the seas are pretty rough. A7, you can see, gets the wave-off lights there in close, pulls the nose up and has an in-flight engagement. Again, that's where the hook catches the wire before the wheels are on the deck. As a result, he breaks the left main mount and FODs the engine. Here's an F-14A from VF-14. I actually was in Wardroom 1 when this happened, right above my head. He wound up hitting an A7 parked on Cat 2. Airplane rolled and they punched out going sideways. S3 cold cat shot off Cat 3. You can see they make the decision to eject halfway down the stroke. Good call. Airplane hits the water. You get 4 good shoots off the port side. There's an A6 spinning the shuttle on Cat 1. You see a little explosion on the bow as the shuttle hits the water brake without taking the airplane with it. Pilot stepping on the brakes, trying to stop, but he can't. So BN goes first, pilot goes second, right as the airplane tips over the bow, and they both wind up landing on the flight deck. There's an A7, has a nice trap. But as he rolls out, you can see he's smoking his right brake, can't stop, so he ejects. And he winds up coming down right on the edge of the flight deck. Broke his pelvis, but survived. And flight deck personnel in large numbers run over to collapse his chute and stop him from being dragged down the angle. Here's an A7. Pilot pulls power instead of going to military power. This is why we go to military power in the wires. So he ejects. So this footage is actually backwards. You see a Tomcat on Cat 1, normal cat shot, clearing turn, camera turns to Cat 3, cold cat shot, and the crew ejects. Rio lands on the flight deck. Pilot also lands on the flight deck, but winds up getting caught on the wing of the A6 that's parked on Cat 4. S3 with a soft shot off Cat 3 winds up getting into a stall. Like the Hultgren mishap, they eject out of the envelope. The guy in the right back seat wound up surviving. There's another S3 approach at night. S3 has an unsafe nose gear indications. The rep in CATSI has the brilliant idea to attempt a touch and go to try to lock the nose gear into place. It doesn't work. The airplane gets airborne again. The COTAC in the right front seat thinks they're going to crash, so he ejects. This blinds the pilot. The COTAC winds up landing on the flight deck. Meanwhile, the pilot eventually gets his vision back. He comes aboard and has a successful barricade with the nose gear down and locked. You can see in this view as he catches the barricade, there's nobody in the right front seat. So there's an A3 coming aboard Nimitz in 1987. The pilot was having a bad night, got the airplane down to barricade state. Unfortunately, he didn't listen to the LSO's instructions and hit the top of the barricade. This crew was lost. This is an A7 aboard Midway. Pilot pulls power in close and has a very ugly ramp strike. Finally is my good friend Tree Sadler, pilot for VF-41. As they roll out the wire parts and the machinery down below the flight deck, they make the right call and eject. The airplane winds up getting caught up in the scupper at the end of the angle. Tree went on to be an admiral in the reserves and an airline pilot. This footage is presented in memory of those who paid the ultimate price in the pursuit of carrier aviation capabilities and the freedoms it provides. All right, that'll do it for this episode. If you'd like to help support this channel, please consider using the super thanks in the comments below or becoming a patron at patreon.com/WardCarroll. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.